Greetings. Sorry for the delay there, guys. You have your ticket? You don't have one? No problem, my friends. Just hit the subscription button. Come on in. Hey, guys. DFG here with Gideon's Flight. Hey, I just wanted to take a minute to talk about. I guess this would have to be a public service announcement, and I'm going to direct this to the specific group of African American, so-called Black, Negro, people, Hebrew Israelites, most of us. But again, you know how we don't know that, but that's okay. But I wanted to talk to you because there's a video going around now. Young black boy, probably, I don't know, if I was guessing, 8, 9 years old, dressed in female attire, and he's dancing to Kirk Franklin's gospel song. I want to say it's the one called Shout. Not 100% sure about that. But if you go back and you look at the views of that short video and the likes of that short video, it's heartbreaking. How many people liking that video when a little black boy is being not only infeminized, but also being what was the word? Dehumanized, to allow himself to be dressed that way, or to someone to allow him to be dressed that way, and then not only allow that kind of inappropriate behavior, in my opinion and Yahweh's opinion. So don't blame me if you're getting mad about this. If you want to know what Yahweh thinks, go to, I'm going to tell you this, whether you like it or not, go to Leviticus 20 and 13, and it'll tell you exactly what the Lord has to say about that behavior. And if you're one of those guys who say, well, that's the Old Testament, that's already passed, the New Testament with grace, and it says something told that we're not being judged, then you go to Romans chapter 1, start about verse 22, read up to verse 31, and you're going to see the exact same thing, more or less, that you saw in Leviticus. Okay? And Romans chapter 1, that's supposed to be the New Testament. Or you can go to 1 Corinthians 6 and 9, and it talks about infeminization of men. Now, that qualifies in terms of why I'm saying this, so that you don't think I'm personalizing it, although I 100% agree with it. And I think whenever children are treated that way, they're being victimized. But not only they're being victimized, but I think children of color are being targeted. I really believe they're being targeted. And let me give you an example. Some of you guys say, well, that's a conspiracy theory. I don't believe that blacks are being targeted because they're whites and Asians and Latinos who are embracing that lifestyle. Yeah, but not to the proportion that blacks. And here's why I tell you. Let me give you an example. Atlanta. Atlanta is the 9th largest city in the United States. It has a population of about 460,000 people. If you looked at metropolitan Atlanta, you're talking about somewhere a little bit over, maybe almost 5.5 million people. Well, here's some distinct things about Atlanta. Atlanta is a city that was 60%, 62, 63% black. That number has dropped from 62% black now to around about 52% black. That's a huge swing in black population. Not only that, but also in Atlanta, the white population has gone from 31% to almost 40% in Atlanta. Now you say, well, why are you bringing Atlanta up? Well, I'm bringing up Atlanta because as far as, Atlanta economically speaking, since that is a predominantly black city, a black metro city, a black city where you had a lot of prosperous black people. I think Atlanta's GDP right now is somewhere in the neighborhood of $300 billion annually. 300 billion with a B. There's a lot of construction going on in Atlanta, and a lot of that because of that airport that handles, probably over 100, a little bit over 100 million people use that airport. Again, the airport, I think, is the 10th largest airport in the United States. So there's a lot of traffic, a lot of activity, a lot of prosperity associated with Atlanta. But here's my point that I'm making. In a city that was predominantly black, a city that some of the first affirmative action programs went into play. For example, in building that airport. That was the first time in American history that a major government project included black contractors. And there were many, and it was mandated that the contractors who were building that airport, they had a quota that they had to meet by, with black contractors giving them some of that business. Because in times past, the business was going to white and it was being monopolized by whites and whites only. Okay? Atlanta was one of the first cities that actually put their money where their mouth was as related to affirmative action. Not only having one of the first major metro cities with a black mayor, but also doing black business with black small business owners and contractors. Okay? Also, Atlanta is the place of Martin Luther King. As you know, the civil rights movement. A lot of the civil rights activities were the home base was Atlanta. So Atlanta has a rich history in terms of not only having a solid middle class, upper middle class black population, but a city that was on the move and a place that you could come and find all kind of black artisans doing many, many great things and setting a great example for the rest of the country of what black entrepreneurship could be like, giving the opportunity. Well, lo and behold, all of a sudden, as you looked at black population, the way blacks were growing in Atlanta, all of a sudden, over the last, 20 years, a strange thing started to happen. Let me give you a name. Tyler Perry, for example, started having a base out of Atlanta, pushing a lot of the Medea stuff, the man dressed up as a woman and feminizing himself, and getting a lot of attention from the females and the males. And the people were so proud that Tyler Perry was being progressive and being accepted in Hollywood and doing great business-wise that they forgot to look at the message that Tyler Perry was sending. And that message was telling, black men and women that a particular lifestyle was that they could embrace, and not only could they be embraced, that they would be looked favorably on because they embraced that lifestyle. I'm talking about, the homosexual lifestyle. And so Atlanta went from a very progressive city of black businessmen and black women, politically, economically, socially, very social conscious, to now a city where that the black community has the highest gay population in the country. The highest gay population in the country. Along with that, it's the Mecca for HIV. HIV, the disease that can ultimately lead to AIDS. Atlanta now has the distinct reputation of that type of lifestyle. It is estimated that 60% of all male homosexuals in Atlanta have HIV. And what's even scarier, it's also stated that 1 out of 50 people in Atlanta has HIV. And there is no cure for HIV. There's medication you can take. As long as you stay on that medication, you can probably live a full, healthy life. But you stop taking that medication, it can ultimately become, morph into AIDS, and ultimately you will die. Now, this is not being talked about. And then I come back and say, you might, well, where are you going with this? Well, a progressive black city, a city where black people were on the move, a city where black people were the movers and shakers, a very prosperous city, on the decline, and what's coming on the upcline is homosexuality. And what they won't tell you is that homosexuality is a disease that's associated with all kind of STDs. And STDs, herpes, AIDS, HIV, chlamydia, etc. All these diseases are known to shorten one's lifespan. And obviously, if a man is with a man and a woman is with a woman, they're not going to be able to reproduce. So that's genocide. How can Atlanta, a very progressive civil rights city, a very progressive city, even with the turn of the Civil War, down south, when Atlanta was taken by Sherman, General Sherman, the war was pretty much over with. That's how important Atlanta was to the South. And there were many blacks in Atlanta, many Native Americans in Atlanta. Cherokee were there. Not only Cherokee, and I think the other one was either the Creek or the Choctaw. Native Americans were there. Or natives, what they really should be called. If you want to say American, you can, or you can call it Turtle Island. That's what they would have called it. That's what your ancestors would have called it. Very, very high population of natives in that Atlanta area. All of Georgia as well, but Atlanta. A lot of the Trail of Tears started through Atlanta when they ran the natives out west so that they could take their land from them. Just as they're doing right now, but they're doing it in a more subtle way. by introducing our babies into a lifestyle that's going to ultimately destroy them personally, and then secondly, their ability to procreate. I'm sorry, their ability to procreate. And this is all going under the radar. Nobody's talking about it. Go look at CDC, the Center for Disease Control. Google it up and see what it says about HIV in Atlanta. Atlanta, with AIDS right now, is at the same proportion of third world African countries. And again, our people there are on the decline, and yet you can go through Atlanta and you'll see more homosexuals per capita in Atlanta than you're going to see anywhere else. A very, very progressive city where blacks were doing a lot of great things, making a difference. People like Andrew Young, John Lewis, even though I'm not a fan of him, Martin King, Julian Bond. A lot of these men originated out of Atlanta. Now what's coming out of Atlanta? Lesbians and gays. No disrespect. I'm just simply talking about how does that happen, and how do we maintain our presence in Atlanta if our behaviors are consistent with behaviors of genocide and gentrification going on, where we're losing ground in Atlanta and whites are picking up ground in a very, very progressive, positive city. Atlanta is considered the Mecca of the South. And we're not paying any attention to what root causes are in Atlanta. And if it's happening in Atlanta, then you can count New Orleans, you can count D.C., you can count San Francisco, you can count Dallas, you can count Houston, you can count Chicago, you can count, Brooklyn, Harlem. I can go on and on. Wilmington, South Carolina, all of them are going to follow suit if they haven't already started to show signs of population decreases amongst the African Hebrew Israelites. I have to say that word African Americans. I just need you guys to know who you are and who I am talking to. And again, these things matter, guys. This is our future that we're talking about. When we allow a little black boy to be put on display in a manner that can only lead to some of these facts that I just given to you around the dangers of living in that type of lifestyle, then we are equally responsible when we don't speak up or take actions against that. When we turn around or wink our eyes and say, that's cute, you got to get in with the times, this is a different time, people have changed. People haven't changed. Homosexuality has been around since the damn sun was around. There have been homosexual communities all the way back, in Babylon, Sodom, the Middle East, Sodom. This is not a new thing. The Roman Empire, Italy, Greeks, all those places practice homosexuality. Homosexuality is not a new lifestyle. All it has ever been is decadence. All it ever has been is destructive. And all of it ever has done is cause chaos and mayhem for individuals and their families living in that lifestyle, even including the homosexual themselves. And don't tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. I got two in my family. Well, one is deceased from AIDS. Some of you guys know that already. And I have a younger sister that's, a lot of tragedies going along with that. So don't tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. I've been exposed to this stuff my whole life in terms of, understanding the culture. Loving the person, hating the lifestyle. And I think if you look at Atlanta, as a guide of what can happen and what will happen, you understand, my disdain for it. But that's more I could give you. I can go on and on and on. But I'm just saying, guys, every time we wink, every time we are in agreement, every time that we embrace things that are not in our best interest, you can always understand, you should clearly understand that it's going to come back and it's going to haunt us for generations to come. And what we need, females. How many black women out there, so-called African-American Hebrew, I can't find a good man. There are no good black men. But you're embracing a lifestyle where you're encouraging your sons to look for other men and not look for a woman, although you're a woman, saying that you can't find a good man. Tell me the sensibility in that. Explain to me your rationale for that. Put it in the comments. How can you say I can't find a good black man, then you encourage a lifestyle that tells the man not to want you as a black woman? You see what I'm saying? And vice versa too, the other way around. And again, Atlanta is a great study. You know what I'm saying? A social study on what can happen to a progressive city and how people can go in and undermine that city very discreetly, very cunningly. Because they knew these facts that I shared to you before they introduced, before they really started to embrace homosexuality in that city and condone and encourage that behavior, condoning that behavior. They knew what it would have, what kind of effect it would have on the so-called black community ultimately. But they did it anyway. Thank you for listening. DFG. Talk to you soon. Bye now.